Picture this. It's 1492, and the massive landmass we now call the United States, well, it was completely unknown to the rest of the world. But fast forward to today, and we're looking at the ultimate global superpower. We're talking the biggest economy, the most formidable military, and the oldest continuous democracy on the planet. So you've got to wonder, how exactly does a totally unknown territory transform into the absolute epicenter of global dominance? Let's dive in.
Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are unpacking the unlikely superpower, a chronological history of America. Because, America's rise to the top, it absolutely wasn't a fluke. It was actually the result of centuries of highly calculated decisions, some seriously aggressive expansions, and a few truly world-changing conflicts. So here is our chronological roadmap for today. We'll start with the discovery of the New World, move on to its capture by European countries, the American Revolution, expansion and the Civil War, and finally, wrap up with the rise to a modern superpower. Let's get right to it.
Starting with Section 1, Discovery of the New World, which was really just an accidental finding. And honestly, it all kicks off with an incredibly ambitious quest for navigation.
Back in the 1400s, Portugal's Prince Henry the Navigator set the stage by establishing this legendary school of navigation to basically map the known world. Now, decades after Henry's death, an ambitious sailor named Christopher Columbus took up the baton. He was dead set on finding a western sea route to India. So, backed by the Spanish crown, Columbus set sail in 1492. But, as we know, instead of hitting India, he stumbles right into the Americas.
And this right here led to one of history's absolute biggest geographic blunders. Columbus was so convinced he'd actually reached India that when he encountered the native inhabitants, he labeled them Red Indians. It's kind of crazy, right? A massive mix-up that coined a term that just stuck for centuries, though those native populations were later properly referred to as Amerindians.
Moving on to Section 2, Capture by European countries, and the Great Race for Land. Because once word got out about this vast, resource-rich new territory, it triggered an absolute frenzy. By the 1700s, it was basically a giant land grab. European powers were eagerly carving up the continent. Spain jumped in early with major land claims. France scooped up massive swaths of territory, including what's now Canada and Britain. They established these huge, sprawling colonies right along the eastern coast. Now, while this tragically displaced the Native American populations who already lived there, the colonies simultaneously became a haven for persecuted Europeans who were desperately seeking equality and a fresh start.
All right, on to Section 3, American Revolution and Independence. This is where the colonies finally push back, because eventually the people living under British rule hit a massive boiling point. See, Britain was slapping incredibly strict, oppressive laws onto its American colonies. They enforced these harsh trade monopolies, literally dictating that all colonial trade had to pass exclusively through Britain, no exceptions. The real breaking point, though, came after the 7 Years' War. Britain won, which wiped out the French presence, but it left the British government buried in debt. Their solution? Slap crushing taxes on the American colonies. This whole taxation without representation dynamic sparked widespread outrage, which ultimately ignited the revolution in 1765. From there,